on the website and there's a payment plan, can he adjourn and print it if it is actually there?
He doesn't have,
or can he task one of his people there to print it and present it now because the website is live?
The challenge will be to
It is not there.
to take evidence that the Auditor General has not looked at.
Correct.
And we try to make sense out of it in this session.
Mr. Chairman, on the payment plan, I think I could say so because the control of budget is here. And the payment plan, just like read in the recommendations, the payment plan was submitted to the control of budget and it is what we have been using to pay. So
where is it?
So Chair, it was a recommendation by this committee. It's a query by the Office of the Auditor General. Why is not part of your bundle? Why?
why was it?
And how much have you paid so far? It's as simple as that.
Actually, that is a question that you need to respond to.
How much?
You have a payment plan. You have given it to the control of budget. What is now? What is the net position right now?
And who are these people, including, because even in note number 17, trade and other payables, there is a note or note number 17 inside the trade payables of figure 4,074,203 excludes payables currently undergoing verification. So who are they? Because this is your financial statements is you generate. So this is your document. So who are they?
Okay, so Governor, before you get to that question,
yes,
just tell us your payment plan as implemented, has it resulted into a reduction of this figure from 5.9 billion to a different figure, or it remains the same?
thank you, Mr. Chairman. The pending bills performance for the year in terms of payments, in the plan, we intended to pay up to 1.9 billion shillings. That was the total amount of the plan, divided under development and recurrent of 1.2 billion, staff claims of 33 million, and salary and other statutory arrears of 701 million. The actual payments made came to, no, sorry, Mr. Chairman, I think I mixed them up a bit. The action plan had a total value of 2.5 billion. I'm sorry about that. The actual payments are the figure that I've read.
He's reading from somewhere. Can he refer us to he's reading from somewhere?
where is that payment plan?
Because we had said, Mr. Chairman, that this information will be given to
Orders, you see, let me guide you. Yeah. Let's allow him to give us an account of that current status, and then from there we demand evidence to it. Because remember, so that we don't sound too technical and too accountant-like, this 5.9 billion is owed to a woman or a man somewhere. So we must speak to it. We must speak to it from that perspective before we go to the technicalities.
Because you see, Chair, the reason I'm asking that is because I can see him reading a document, quoting figures to the cent. And I'm saying, let's walk with him. Let him tell us where he's reading from. We have the document that he has given us here. Where is he reading from?
Is that an internal document, or is it something that has been subjected to scrutiny by auditors, both either internal or external?
Mr. Chairman, we said in our status report that these reconciliations will be availed to the auditor at the audit of this financial year. So I'm just reading an internal document, but I think this information, because the payments were made by the control of budget, this information is obviously also with the control of budget.
So members, can we allow him to give us the picture? He says he had a plan of 2.5 billion. He has not told us how much of that plan has been paid.
Chair, with all due respect, the auditors are supposed to look at that and verify. We are not on the ground, so we cannot listen to document that we don't have. And who will verify it?
Okay.
And the Chair,
Yes, Chair, if you rule that we need to hear from that gentleman, and he needs to make reference to that document, then in all fairness, maybe he should circulate that document to the auditors first. We get their opinion, so that we take information that does not create any doubt from the side of the auditors. Otherwise, it will be very unfair to allow him to refer to a document that does not have the comfort of the auditors, Chair. So if you want them to refer, then let them pass the document to the auditors. Then we can be on the same page.
Okay, so members, we have two steps in this. There is this public inquiry that we are holding, which perhaps helps the people in the counties to understand the intentions of their government. And that's why we are asking this question. There is a next step of making our recommendations. And we cannot make recommendations without relying on documents that are properly, signed off and properly reviewed. So, Senior Counsel, I agree with you that we cannot we cannot make recommendations on this matter without the governor circulating a proper document before us. But for the sake of that public interest, we want to establish whether there is some movement in, or there's some progression in settlement of pending bills. You have heard the way Professor Jenda, who's the area senator, has spoken with passion. We just want to find out whether things are getting worse or things are getting better. Honorable members,
if you rule that, Chair, and we don't want to countermine your decision, then let him share that document, soft copy. Then we can ask questions on it.
Okay.
Now
I want to give directions that if that document is available.
Just since I'm the senator and this is oversight, my concern, the reason why I raise this is because we on the ground, we hear that there are particular suppliers who are paid and not others. And that's why we need to see that list. There are particular ones and not others.
I think, Chair, that has been a tradition. For neatness is that the county government has said there was a payment plan submitted to COB, Control of Budget. We need now to speak to 5.9 billion, telling us how much they have. You have asked a right question, Chair, that how much has been paid and who are these people? And based on aging analysis, because we know first in, first out, FIFO. So we need to know, because apart from the semantics around it, there is a businessman or a woman from Kisumu who has been owed for some time, and they really want to know whether they have been paid or not. That is now, we'll avoid the technicality part. So can the CEC, that is being given to COB, the payment plan, how much has been paid? Chair, you remember on several occasions, many entities who have appeared before us have always submitted how much has been paid to who and how much is pending and who are these companies, and including even the timeline. I remember the last entity that appeared here, even the timeline, others indicate 2013, 2014, 2018, 2019. So can we get that? If we get that, I think we'll make an headway.
Members, I think we are saying the same thing. We are saying the same thing. Prof, you have got a big team around you. Your CEC says there's a payment plan. Is that payment plan available and can it be circulated? Your CEC says an amount has been paid as per the payment plan. Is it possible to get the schedule of payments as per that payment plan? I believe that's what we are asking for, honorable members. So is it something that is ready and available for circulation?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of the Governor, yes, the figures in terms of what has been paid is available. We can circulate. What perhaps we don't have right now is the list of individuals who have been paid, which, if given some time in the course of the day, we can give, because we didn't carry the list of who was paid how much, the suppliers and the contractors. I cannot lie that we have it here.
You see, Chair, now that's a problem that we find ourselves in. What the CEC is saying is that he can circulate a document. I've not seen it, you've not seen it, that tells you we are paid 1.2 billion Kenya shillings. But it doesn't have the detail of Ojenda was paid, not some Ojenda. Ojenda was paid 10 million, Omondi was paid, Wambua was paid this much. What is the value of that document, Chair? Secondly, remember, he has said it on record that that document has not been submitted to the auditor. So who will have verified that document for us so that we can rely on that document to interrogate the implementation status? Chair, you find ourselves in a very awkward situation, but I have known you to be a very wise man. You must find a way of getting us out of this.
No,
Chair,
I'd
just
like
in
us to
addition-
make progress. So, a
In
brief one,
addition,
Senator?
the CEC doesn't want to say how much he has paid, because as per the implementation status, we are interested where genuine pending bills or trade payables have been made and unsettled. So can he say how much and maybe specific entities? But Chair, looking from what the CEC is not admitting, I don't think we'll make any headway the way, because there is no evidence. So you can direct that this matter, the governor can come back to provide further clarity, because now we are just shooting in the dark.
The governor has taken oath, and he said he's going to say the truth and nothing but the truth. So his oral submissions, I think, are admissible. But there are three things the committee is asking for, which you need to tell us whether we can get it now or not. The payment plan, the schedule of payments, and also that aging analysis, which your officer says is on the website. Those three things are important for us to make proper recommendations on this. But to avoid a situation where a conversation around the livelihoods of the people of Kisumu is terminated on technicalities, I want us to come back and perhaps consider the oral submissions. The evidence can come and we can consider it as we write our report. But speaking on behalf of the people owed 5.9 billion. CEC, you are explaining something about your payment plan, that you had planned to pay 2.5 billion. You did not tell us how much of that was paid. How much of that was paid?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was reading the pending bills performance as handed over to me internally. We had an action plan which had a value of 2.5 billion, and the actual paid amounted to 1.9 billion, achieving a pending bills performance ratio of 76%.
Now, of the 1.9 billion, now that we are saying we can take your oral submission for now, just for the sake of the public interest, how do you break it down in terms of the age of the debt that was settled? Was it current? Was it historical?
But Chair, I think we are mixing up issues here. We are not getting what is the total amount of pending bills for Kisumu County. And CEC is saying having paid 1.9 billion, it's 70% of the total outstanding. Yeah, 76. So how do we arrive at that? Because we are not able to verify that position.
CEC, stop throwing numbers, because 76 is a percentage of the plan, isn't it? Not a percentage of the total.
You're right, Mr.
Yeah, so don't use numbers, don't use percentages to look good.
Chair, in the interest of those people you're talking about,
Yes.
let it go on record, so that in the interest of those people of Kisumu,
Yes.
those figures that we are discussing here are only available to the CC. We don't have those figures.
Yes.
Yes,
Let's just
and
go on record.
we will give directions that they must be provided and they must be subjected to scrutiny and they must be made public.
Yeah.
Senator, Professor.
As the CEC presents his report, can he highlight how much of those pending bills go back to the tenure of the first governor, the oldest, during Ranguma's time? How much of those bills go back to Ranguma's time when he served as governor, of that amount?
Yeah, I think it's the same question I asked around the age of the settled debt. Do you have that? Are you able to respond on that?
Mr. Chairman, the classification that I have in terms of the actual payments of 1.9 billion is only on development, recurrent, staff and salary, but I can get the data on the age.
It's not aged.
It's not age.
Now, members, the reason why this is an important conversation is that the analysis by the Parliamentary Budget Office indicates that And PBO, I'm seeing a slight variation in the numbers here. 2024, 2025, I'm seeing 5.7 billion. Where did you get that number from?
From the Auditor General report.
Not 5.944.
No, Chair, that was the pending bill. No, not the pending, the wage bill.
Oh, yes, you're right. Yeah, you're right. I withdraw that. The Parliamentary Budget Office tells us that in 2024-2025, you closed at 5.9 billion. The prior year, 2023-2024, you closed at 2.8 billion. So there was a growth of 3 billion in pending bills in one financial year. And I know my colleagues will ask for evidence to support your claims, but we need to understand what led to this huge spike of 108% in pending bills in one financial year. And we have had stories here about delayed exchequer, etc., etc. We need to get an explanation. Your pending bills have been 2021-2022, it was 2.4 billion. 2022-2023, it was 2.0 billion. 2023-2024, it was 2.8 billion. 2024-2025, it was 5.9 billion. That raises serious concern. What could be the cause of the 3 billion growth in pending bills in 1 year? Prof?
Mr. Chairman, the growth, it was driven largely by rulings that were delivered in the course of the year by courts against the county government, and also a consent that the county ended with the National Housing Corporation with respect to an estate where, the matter had also been in court, that the county actually owed the National Housing Corporation, I think the county attorney will confirm, up to 1.1 billion, and the court ruled, the county entered consent to pay, and so that figure was admitted in our roll inventory of pending bills. There were a number of other significant decisions of the court which amounted to pending bills. I remember one from the top of my head of about 480 million and so on. But maybe the county attorney can help explain, because a good number of that was driven by decisions of courts.
Okay, so it's real growth. It's not just an issue of timing of exchequer.
Even after the reconciliations to take care of the delayed exchequer and the payments that were made, we are saying that there was actually real growth, and that growth was driven by key decisions of the court.
Okay, we need to get an answer to that, because in the analysis, the Parliamentary Budget Office indicates that the sharp growth in pending bills in 2024-2025 warrants further audit to establish whether it resulted from delayed exchequer releases or weak commitment controls. You have added another dimension of rulings. You wanted the county attorney to add something.
Thank you very much. I think at this point in time, I can only confirm the 1 billion stake. So it is true and correct that between the NHC or the national, or between the local authority provident fund and county government of Kisumu, there had been a case, and that figure is coming to 1.540, 814, 883.
Is it because, Chair,
I'm only confirming. I'm only confirming.
County Attorney Order, through the Chair, in the legal dues it says the opening balance was 2.6 billion 8. So where are you getting the figures? You know, we are dealing with what you have. Where is those figures, through the Chair?
Yeah, is that a judgment for the county to pay for the houses?
The is it 1.1 or 1.5?
Chairman, I've referred to a legal dispute that was pending in a file that is being settled at 1.5
That's an
billion
award.
shillings.
It's already determined, or it's a contingent liability?
That is by consent.
It's by consent.
That is by
Well-
consent.
So that's one matter, 1.5.
Yes.
So Chair, you see, that's where the problem is.
So where
You
is the
know,
annex?
he talked about 1.1 billion. He is talking about 1.5 billion. We are looking at a blank. We don't know what it is that we are dealing with. Chair, I want to persuade you, as I heard Senator Tom saying, I'm not sure we are ready to engage on these matters, honestly. Because how do you engage with, top of mind? This is what I think, this is what I think. How?
Chair, and
Senator
that is a
Cheraki?
new one, because looking at there were legal dues here, and the opening balance in that year under review was 2.6 billion. So what is the fate of contingent liabilities? Because if there was an award that was given, it should have been taken care by contingent liabilities, and my law lecturer is here in agreement with me, Professor Ojenda.
So I'm confused because
Yes,
what they're
and
saying
if my
does
lecturer
not
is
make sense.
confused, how was
Does
am
not
I?
make sense at all.
Okay, we were asking for the reasons for the growth in pending bills of 3 billion. So far, 1.5 billion has been referred to. What about the other 1.5 billion? Because legal dues, you have talked of 1.5. So that explains 50% of that growth. What about the other 50%? That is assuming that that was the right explanation. So what about the other 1.5 billion?
Mr. Chairman, one of the reasons is already one that you have read there. When we have late disbursements of exchequer at the end of the financial year from the National Treasury, then what is paid in the new year becomes, is considered a pending bill in the year that was closing. But the other thing which is also true is the underperformance of on-source revenue leading to literally funds unavailability also is responsible for part of those, that rise in pending bills.
When you're doing your transition to accrual accounting, there was a steering committee, and there was supposed to be technical groups under the steering committee, and I believe one of them was to look at your trade payables and how to transition them. Who led that working group? Because in this year you're supposed to have a steering committee, and then you're supposed to appoint different working groups.
It was led by the chief officer in the department.
The chief officer, who is in the room?
Yes.
I'm also looking at your Audit and Finance Committee as disclosed in the financial statement, chaired by Mr. Elijah Owino Ngonga, and the 8 members are there with very impressive qualifications. Is the chairman of the Audit Committee present, part of the delegation?
No, he's not here.
I think it's good practice to have them here, because this ties very neatly with what they do. Because the reason why I raise that is we are extremely concerned that we don't seem to be keeping a proper inventory of what we owe. And I want to, I know my colleagues are frustrated about the lack of details, but I don't want this to terminate technically. Prof, I think we need to get your views on this, because if at that time, 1 year or 2 years to the end of your tenure, pending bills are rising, consents are being entered into that would cost the county about 1.5 billion, your pending bills is rising faster than your own source revenue, because rising by 3 billion, your own source revenue is much less. We know you to be a person who perhaps sees the forest, does not well, you can see the trees, but you prefer to see the forest. What is the plan to ensure that on the 10th year of your leadership of Kisumu, the county is not saddled with debt, and that the debt to revenue ratio can go back to what is recommended in the PFM?
Mr. Chairman, I think this is feasible. Once we get the report of the discussions today, which I hope we'll get very soon, we'll sit down and get your concerns. And we shall then go into the practical duty, practical work, going through what finance has presented here and what questions have been raised, which finance has not covered. I think that's very clear. Secondly, I know for certain that we have a problem of revenue and debt. Some of the debt, as you know, are historical. We received them from past regimes. Some of the debt arise as a result of policies of the national government and ourselves, which may increase salaries at a certain point, and you are obliged to pay those salaries without realizing that, while realizing that actually the revenue that you have cannot meet the demands that you have. These are practical things on the ground that we see. So we would like to find solutions, definitely, and I think this committee can help us find solutions with the national government in this issue. So what I think we do, we go back, having taken the questions and the issues that have been raised here, and we come back to the committee with solutions. And if, Mr. Chairman, we cannot get solutions, we'll ask you to help us get them. So I think that, to me, it has been a learning process this morning of issues that we should have known and covered, and we didn't. Secondly, trying to put in place a system of getting information in time. One of the problems that you have in government, in sometimes departments make decisions and make and spend money, but we don't get that information in time. You understand what I mean? I mean, even in government, you can be a minister, and the departments are spending all kinds of things, and there's a time that you'd want it, but say, no, this is not ready until this date. So I think that my feeling and my recommendation is that we go back, look at the issues that have been raised, and then come back with responses to those concerns based on the information that we are going to get from talking to these people. Can you answer this?
Now, relax, Senator Wapua, because I can see where you are going. Do you have an idea on what your staff payables are? What you owe to staff? So we've talked of legal. What about staff payables? Because it goes back to the starting point of our conversation that the persons who prepared these financial statements did a lousy job. You can't tell on the face of the financial statement what you owe to staff. And members, I think I'm a bit lenient today because
is an understatement. Yeah.
Because Prof used to sit here. Yeah, he used to chair this committee. He used to be with us in the house. And when we went to Kisumu, we wished him well, and we continue to wish him well. And we must be proactive in terms of our advice. Of course, our recommendations will be as stiff as they are. But we must help him see some things that maybe from where he sits, he might not be able to see. How much do you owe to staff out of this 5.9 billion?
Can I ask the finance minister to respond?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The monies owed to staff we categorize them into two. Some of them are arrears of salaries and statutory deductions that may not have been remitted, that have not been remitted. Historically, that comes to 1.3 billion. I need to clarify that this, particularly the ones that are owed to the...
Yeah, on a point of order, I think it is safer to to continue with what Professor Governor has proposed.
Yes.
Because we are now going into a dangerous quagmire that will not come out from.
Chair.
So is it safer
We
to work
need to
with-
discuss it so that
Yes.
when they go back, they prepare a comprehensive report.
But the CCM is going to the same place where you
And again,
we
Chair.
have been.
And again, Chair, the problem is, you see, he is sinking, and we have no visibility of the vessel that he is sinking in. How do we help him? How are we supposed to help?
Yes.
Because, Chair, he has just dropped a bomb.
So this is
1.3 billion
what I'm reading.
staff payables. That is, I mean, no, if you have that document here, then Chair, I want to persuade you, and I understand.
The beauty is that I go to note 20.
Yes.
Go to note 20 of the financial statements. Because now we want to look at that 1.3 and how it relates to what is in note 20, which has employee benefit obligations.
Yes. Chair, as we go there, Chair, can I also request you to get a response from ESC on the status of this guy who prepared these financial statements?
Christine, did you get any response?
I didn't get the full name of the CPA.
Oh, and you still don't have the number?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Fine. So see, you're saying the arrears is 1.3 billion, quite a big number. But if you go to note 20 in your financial statement, it has some very alarming numbers there. 5.8 billion.
That what you said?
Page 46 of the audit certificate. Note 20.
No, you don't have it.
Not the financial statements, note number 20.
You have the financial statements.
Yes. Pensions, yeah. Use that.
So on note 20, employee benefit obligations.
Employees?
So we want to tie it with the submission of the 1.3 billion as the outstanding obligation. Are we on it?
Yeah, we're saying it, yes, sure.
And Auditor General, I would have expected you to query this particular note because it does not tie with anything else in the financial statements. So under note 20, it indicates that total employee benefit obligation is 5.8 billion. Is that the case? Is that the position? Because I can see LAP fund 417 million, NSSF 5 billion. I wonder how that would be. NSSF 5 billion, CPF 104. It goes on and on. Insurance cover medical 132 million. Please help us and interpret for us that note.
What about these burial expenses of 1,375,000?
Yeah,
They come from 605. Insurance cover medical are 2. This 132
maybe we
million,
can allow them to explain to us the note.
total 5.8 billion.
Let the CC explain.
I want to say that the NSSF figure is obviously an error. It's not, we don't owe NSSF 5 billion shillings. We owe them around 500 million shillings. And that is how the total bill should have come down to 1 point rather than 5 billion. So I agree with you. It is true the NSSF figure in the financial statements was an error.
But Chair, through with I thought this is your document, this financial statement. So have you rectified in any form?
Auditor General, how come you didn't raise this matter? Because you have long paragraphs on procurement for culverts worth 2 million, 3 million. But this has not come out.
On that.
Sorry?
Paragraph number 15.
We have reported on that.
Oh, you have reported on it?
Yes.
On paragraph?
15.
Oh, it's a substantive.
On lawfulness.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, then.
But I'm asking, Chair, to the Governor, and see, this is your document. When did you realize there is an error? Or is it now? This one, note number 20, employee benefit obligations that you don't owe NSSF 5 billion, but you owe them 500 million. When did it come to your attention?
Mr. Chairman, the OAG noted it, and we are going to make those adjustments in the next financial statements.
No, Chair, I don't think that's the way to proceed. Chair, because the summation is correct. When you add up the figures, they add up to 5.8. So the summation is okay. Yes. Now you cannot revise a figure during inquiry. You just say, it's not 5 billion, it's 500 million. You reduce by 4.5 billion, just like that. I mean, Chair, where does that happen?
I think what we may need to do, going back to the first point of order you raised, Senator Wambua, we probably might need to generate certain questions around this which the entity should respond to, because they didn't come out clearly in the audit. But now that we are looking at the financial statements, which is proper, which is what we learned from Professor Nyong'o, that you don't just look at the audit report, you must also look at the financial statement itself. The financial statement is generating a lot of additional and supplementary questions, which perhaps we can agree that we whip each other here, or we can agree that we provide the entity with an opportunity to respond to them in a much more specific manner. And I think we are not here just to whip the professor and his team. We are here to find ways of ensuring that the people of Kisumu get paid, your employees are getting paid, but you also have visibility on what it is that you owe your employees and your service providers. So, because the more we ask, the more slippery the slope becomes. So now, and the starting point was the quality of the financial statement and the competence of the signatories to the financial statements. That's why we are where we are. So I don't know whether the same parties are the ones signing the next set of financial statements. Are they the ones who signed the ones that you're looking at, Auditor?
Chair, CRF is signed by the Chief Officer. Are you asking for the current here?
Yes, for the current.
Yes, I believe they are still the same.
They are still the same. So, Prof, you see what you must do. You must make sure that the signatories to your financial statements are people who are in good standing with their professional bodies. Because the mistake is theirs, but then the embarrassment is yours. So you must make sure that they don't make those mistakes so that the embarrassment also does not come to you. Senator Dulo, you wanted to make some contribution?
No, Chair. I think we have not done very well as far as this query is concerned. And Governor has requested to be given more time so that he can go and look at this properly and give proper response. So I think instead of interrogating further without getting a solution to the problem, we should allow them to go back and sit with the auditors and come up with a proper response. so that we can be done with this particular query, because there is huge sums of money involved in this particular matter, which raises a lot of concern. So I think let us give them time. Even the one on court consent is too much for government, 1.5 billion. Yeah. So something needs to be done. Let's allow them to go back and work on it, and then give us a response depending on how long you will allow them to do that. Thank you.
Yeah, and also consent. I think you remember the Kilifi settlement, which raised more queries when it was tabled before us. Senator Dr. Lilegwe, I don't think you had gone on record. Yeah, please just go on record.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Lilegwe Tumbesi, Senator for Samburu, member of the committee.
So I think the reason why we are having this problem is that we are moving from the report of the Auditor General to the recommendations of the Senate to implementation status. So there's a gap in there. I think there's some missing information, because you are responding to, actually what you did here was to respond to the OAG's recommendation, not to the Senate recommendation. If you are to respond to the Senate recommendation, you would have addressed some of these specific things that are coming up. I think we can give the delegation certain timelines to provide information in the right format, because the Auditor General queried those two notes that we have referred to. Note 17 was not aged, it was not broken down in the proper manner. Note 20 has got inaccuracies in that matter of NSSF, so we are not even able to tell what the exact obligation is that is owed to staff in Kisumu County. So we can clarify our areas where we need to have information for purposes of writing this report, but Auditor General, in the 2025-2026 audit, you must also make sure that you pay special attention to the issues that we have raised.
Chair, on LAP fund, I think these are payables to staff who have retired. And the amount involved is 417 million, which is a lot of money that should have actually helped those who have retired. So maybe we need to have an explanation why, up to now, these guys have not been paid, despite deduction from their salaries. Thank you.
You want to respond? Proceed.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just two things. One is what you just said, that we definitely could have a problem because we are responding to the recommendations of the Auditor General and not necessarily the recommendations of the Senate Committee, because we didn't see those recommendations of the Senate Committee. We are responding to the recommendations given to us by the Auditor General. Then secondly is on the issue of LAP fund and the figure and whether people are suffering. Mr. Chairman, if you look at our status implementation report, we are saying that we are still negotiating some waivers with LAP fund, and we are not the only county doing that, because that figure that you see there is not the principal amount owed to the employees. It has interest and penalties. A huge chunk of it is actually interest and penalties. The specific municipalities that were owed by the time of the transition authority were just 2. The actual figure is much less than that, but there is a negotiation around, do we have to pay these interest and penalties? So that's what is causing this problem.
It's very difficult to reach a conclusion, having agreed that the numbers that are here are also not tying up. Moving from 5 billion to 500 million is not something that you take lightly. So we will provide a detailed questionnaire for your response, but it won't be very far from our recommendations. If you are responding to our recommendations, you would have been able to address these issues. As you have said, you are responding to the OAG's recommendations. And again, under Note 20, you've got retirement benefit, asset, and liability applicable to pensions. And you've got that narration down there. And, when I was reading it, I was asking myself what that was supposed to communicate. Where you say the entity operates a defined benefit scheme for all full-time employees from 1st of July 2024. And then, what do you say next? Who is a scheme administrator? Who is a custodian of the scheme? What is the percentage of salary? Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Under retirement benefit, asset or liability, where you are supposed to explain the kind of scheme you have for your full-time employees. You are supposed to disclose your administrators. You are supposed to disclose your custodians. You are supposed to disclose the percentage salary of an employee, the percentage of an employee's salary that is supposed to be deducted and remitted to the scheme. You are supposed to disclose who did the actuarial valuations, because these are defined benefit, not a defined contribution. I'm just pointing your attention to that disclosure was not proper. And Auditor General, is that material? Is it a material disclosure on the manner in which they treat the retirement benefit liabilities?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes.
So it is something that they need to provide precise information on.
Yes, in any case, because it's one of the requirements in that template, they should have given the information as required. Thank you.
Okay. Prof, are you seeing my point? And
yes, I see your point, Mr. Chairman, and I don't see why that information cannot be made available, because the retirees are known, and when they retire, those records are kept by the finance department. So I think given time we can provide that.
Okay, members, yeah, I think I've listened to Senator Dulo and the need for us to provide timelines and specific questions that the entity should respond to, which we can consider as a committee, or we can ask the auditor to deal with in the 2025-2026 audit cycle. Since a number of the other issues in this report had been dealt with by the County Assembly, and in view of that difficulty in getting proper verifiable records to close some of those non-conformances, perhaps we might need to give the entity some time, if you agree, on specific outstanding issues in the executive report, particularly on pending bills or trade payables, particularly on obligations to staff, the retirement benefits arrangements in Kisumu County, because I think those are serious risks that, Prof, you wouldn't want to leave office and then employees say that their retirement benefits are not accounted for. We have seen cases where even gratuity cannot be paid to outgoing staff because it was being deducted but not remitted. And I think for a governor who's coming to close of term, those two should be very critical things that you look at on a daily basis. How much you owe suppliers, your contingent liabilities or litigation in progress and how it can affect the entity, and what you owe your staff. You should not close this financial year without having clarity on that. Professor Jenda.
Chair, I just wanted to add, I note the issues you have set out for governor. I think my bigger concern, and I just wanted to note this, governor, as you exit, that it's a very glaring concern that if you look at your schedule of on-source revenue, for instance, parking fees has gone down from 98,551,263 to 113,548. What is wrong? And number two, property fees, and I know that a lot of properties you have set out, you have leased out to private entities to collect rent, has gone down from 20,447,000 to 2022 to 6 million. What is happening? Much as you've grown revenue to 2.7 billion, some of those concerns are so glaring, given that market, for instance, you have new markets. Why would you be having, market fees has gone down to 56 million from the 60 million the previous year. I think these are just concerns that are highlights that should be of concern to you as governor as you exit, so that at least we have, clearly some of these financial streams should be going up, given the fact that there are property developments in Kisumu that are live, that are going up. So there's no reason why they are collecting less when last year they are collecting more. There's no reason why there are no cars in Kisumu when I know there are more, and parking fees 113,000 and it was 98 million. Where is the 97 million? Where is this money?
Yeah. Okay, Professor Jenda has gone to the receiver of revenue report. It was part of our agenda for today. I think he was apprehensive that the meeting is ending without us having looked at the ROR. But we'll make one or two comments on ROR before we close, over and above the specific questions that he has fielded. Senator Wambua?
Chair, very briefly on the issue of the executive report, I have just 3 issues because you said we try and shed some light. One, Governor, first things first, you cannot have people preparing your financial statements who are inactive in their profession and they're not in good standing in their own profession. Because, I mean, what do you expect? If you cannot take care of your own professional obligations, then how will you take care of county issues? Whatever administrative action you decide to take on those ones, I will actually I will actually recommend, Chair, that perhaps these two should not prepare those documents that are brought before us, because they have put us in a lot of mess. Secondly, on the issue of trade payables, let's have a proper document that is even aged so that we can have a proper engagement on who is it that is owed how much money by the county, what is the payment plan. I had the CC giving us a percentage of achievement of a payment plan. I would rather he gives us an achievement, a percentage of the total owed amount, how much of the total owed amount has been paid and who has been paid for what services delivered. Lastly, Chair, is on the issue of a staff obligation. Now, perhaps this is where we should draw the line. You see, Professor Governor, when I look at the cumulative monies owed to employees from Love Fund and Love Trust, it's almost 500 million Kenya shillings. And there's no explanation for it. It's just a figure that comes to us. There's no explanation to what's happening and why it is happening. Whatever it is that we do, Governor, and I am praying God that a few months from today I may be seated where you are seated from Kitui. Whatever it is that we do, let's just be humane. Let's just do. I never understand why any entity, whether county or national, would deduct money from people, and that money at retirement does not help those people. It's actually robbery for those people. That's what it is, and it's not right. I thank you.
Chair, maybe since we are doing in a few, maybe on receiver of revenue, one quick one. I have seen, Governor, the revenue potential of Kisumu. I can see there was an increment in the previous year of 1.5 billion. It went to 2.7 billion in 24-25, up from 23-24, with significant drop that Professor Tom Ojenda has alluded to. And it is, you should be able to tell us why that sudden drop in some of those items on this receiver of revenue reports. Number one. Number two, what is the status of the, we did pass FIF, Facility Improvement Act. You should tell us whether your systems in the hospitals have been automated. And then finally, the revenue potential of on-source revenue, and I know your people know under CRA, should be 28.2 billion, considering this a city county. But you are only collecting 2.7 billion. What is this massive shortfall of close to 26 billion that we are missing the target? And I know there are many revenue streams that the CRA, Commission of Revenue Allocation, the revenue streams had been maximized. Because, for example, Governor, in conclusion, if, for example, you are seeing parking fees dropping from 98 million. In fact, it dropped from 22-23, it was 99.4 million. In 2023-24, it dropped by 1 million to 98.5 million. But in 2024-2025, it came down to 113,548 shillings. That is a drop of almost 97 million. So in correlation with the biggest figure of 28.2 billion, what do we have to say? Because most of the revenue streams in this year under review have dropped, yet the CRA potential gives you a 28.8 billion. I know they might have overestimated, but the practicability of collecting more than 2.7 billion is very high if all these revenue streams are being properly looked at, and maybe touch something with FIF. And finally, Chair, because we are on receiver of revenue, there was also the issue of valuation role. What is the status of the valuation role that will assist you to maximize some of these revenue streams so that you can be able to collect more and be able to do some of this payment, including managing whether the wage bill or the trade payables or the pending bills as is known. Chair, and on development expenditure, maybe you can touch something, because I can see you are only doing 17% of development expenditure. What is the basis of this? Because comparing to wage bill, Chair, it stood at 63%, the wage bill, which means there is a significant use on recurrent expenditure. I know under United Nations through the Chair, human capital has been defined as also part of development, but coming from that, what is the basis of this 63% on the wage bill vis-a-vis 17% on development expenditure? So that I know your argument could be you inherited a lot of employees from municipalities that were there, and therefore you could not fire anybody, you had to retain them for some time. But how are you going to handle this? And I hope Professor Ojenda is noting some of these questions, because if he intends to be the governor of Kisumu City County, these are some of the questions that may roll over to the next financial year. Chair, I yield back.
Okay, you've asked questions that cut across the ROR and the executive report. And since Professor Ojenda brought us into the ROR conversation, maybe we start with the ROR ones very quickly. Even though PBO, you want to comment about parking fees as per your analysis?
Chair, the parking fees really not dropped. There was a small mistake.
Yes, yes. Just clarify that, because it's very alarming.
Yes, but I want to bring to the attention of the committee on the selected revenue streams.
No, let's deal with that, because so what's the right amount for parking fees?
It's supposed to be 113,548,551. There was a small error.
Okay, and not 113,000.
Yes.
Okay, so that clarifies that. So now you can comment on the others.
But the Chair, if you look at the budgeted amount and in the next page.
So sorry, Professor Ojenda is bringing my attention to property fees Is that comparison accurate from 20 million?
Yes, the other one is correct, yeah.
So
apart from the parking fees.
There's no mistake there?
Yes, yes, yes.
And the rest of the lines are okay?
They are okay.
Okay.
The only problem we have is the parking fees.
The parking fees.
Yes, but Chair, if you go to the next page on the performance and the budgeted and actual collection, for example, the parking fees, the county government has budgeted 612 million, but they have collected only 113. So that's a variance and drop and performance of 499 million. Yes. You see, all these are the key revenue streams that really unperformed.
Even in market fees,
Yes.
they had projected 355 million, but they collected 56 million, 411,998, missing a target of 298 million, 588,012 from the market fees.
Yes.
And even looking at the property fees, they had budgeted to collect 63 million, 844,899. They collected 6.1 million, missing by 57.6 million.
Yes.
Even advertising fee, I thought this is governor, because you had budgeted 400 million, you ended collecting 146 million, missing 253. I thought these are low-hanging fruits, governor, especially advertising.
So I think because we need to make a bit of faster progress, do you have a receiver of revenue? Because all these questions are coming from the report of the receiver of revenue.
We do.
Do we have the receiver of revenue in a substantive position or in an acting position?
Is the acting chief executive of the Kisumu County Revenue Board, and the Public Service Board is recruiting the substantive one. They actually advertised, and I think they're interviewing.
Because the Auditor General has queried lack of a substantive receiver of revenue. The gentleman who was signed here as the receiver of revenue, I think it reads like Nandi David. Nandi David is present?
He's here.
Professor?
There was this other, there was the Makobewa led, was that the one, the receiver of revenue? The one that was chaired by Dr. Makobewa?
It is the technical staff there.
No.
Yeah.
There was one that was chaired by Dr. Makobewa. What happened to that one? He was chairing an entity and then he resigned. And there are queries around that. What was that?
That is the Kisumu County Revenue Board. And
so what happened to that board? What happened to that one? To his resignation?
So, Chairman, you need to guide me whether I can take it that
No. It's important.
Okay.
I know I'm asking that
Order members.
There was a CEO of revenue.
Just a minute. We will be repeating ourselves. I asked whether there is a receiver of revenue. That receiver of revenue is designated by the County Executive Committee member for finance. So the receiver of revenue can designate collectors of revenue. So that's why I asked the question, do you have a receiver of revenue?
The answer is yes.
And now Professor has talked about a county revenue board, something like that. Is that a collector or a receiver of revenue?
The County Revenue Board is an entity that oversees, so it's basically an oversight over the receiver in a way, because we have a revenue board just like many other counties, and they supervise the secretariat that actually collects the revenue headed by the receiver. So the board is an authority over the receiver.
So the person designated as a receiver, is that the CEO of the board?
Of the board is the executive.
Is the CEO of the board.
Precisely.
That's a receiver.
But the board resigned. Dr. Makobewa resigned. What was the issue? Around revenue.
So, Chairman, I find this very difficult.
No, it's not difficult. It's not difficult.
I don't know why Makobewa.
Mr. Chairman, let me come in.
Okay, Professor Nyong'o, let's allow Professor Nyong'o to respond.
Please, Mr. Chairman, somebody who resigns from his work resigns for a reason. That person should say why he resigned, not me.
And he did, Mr. Chairman. He wrote a letter because he resigned officially and gave his reasons. He said he was pursuing other interests.
Were there queries around the revenue?
Mr. Chairman, if there were queries around the revenue in this report or in any other report, including the County Assembly ad hoc committee report on revenue, those are known. I'm not sure those are the reasons Makobewa resigned, beyond what he said in the letter.
Now, Waziri, The queries around revenue are here. So, I don't think it is fair to say there are no queries around revenue. They are here. You should have just referred to us, to the Auditor General's report.
Mr. Chairman, what I said was that there are queries around revenue on record, both in this report and also on another report by the County Assembly on revenue. Those are the queries we know. What we are not able to do is to link them to Makuba's resignation.
Fine. Senator Wambua?
Just for information of Waziri, I heard you saying that you are finding it difficult to respond to certain questions. You do not come here for easy questions. The questions here are supposed to be tough. And the questions being asked here are not personal. There's nothing personal here. He's a public servant who exited office in circumstances that this area senator thinks are linked to financial leakages and audit queries. Respond to those questions. Don't take it personal. They should not be easy. Actually, they should be very difficult.
Okay, I think that's just a point of advice. Senator Adulo?
No, I just wanted to know who is your receiver of revenue.
The Chief Executive of the Revenue Board, currently Mr. Philip Adundo, at that time David Nandi. Both of them are inside here.
So Nandi David is no longer the receiver of revenue.
The current receiver is Philip Adundo, who is also here.
There is also a problem with your ROR statement, and Auditor General, you should have flagged this. Look at the signatory to the ROR. Is that a member of ISPAC? Is an associate member allowed to sign off financial statements? I'm believing that whatever is written there is an associate membership. What does an associate member mean? Daktari from the Treasury. Is an associate member of ISPAC allowed to sign off financial statements?
Normally, the associate member is one who has not, does not have the qualifications of an accountant. He has not completed the CPAC, meaning the Certified Public Accounts of Kenya. So he cannot be a member of the ISPAC. So it's just allowed to be an associate.
Christian, ESCC?
Yes, I have also checked the database of ISPAC, and Maurice Omondi Oyara is not in the database of ISPAC.
So where are we having this? Yeah. What is this?
So the problems you are having originate from unqualified persons preparing financial statements. And I think, Governor, you have taken note, and I hope you are going to take necessary action. There is an audit going on for 2025-2026. Auditor, please look at the competence of those signing off financial statements. Because if the right people do it, then we'll have fewer audit issues. Perhaps in the remaining 3 minutes, maybe just ask Professor Nyong'o to respond to two of the issues that were raised. Maybe a general comment on revenue performance, and then finally on the fiscal responsibility, where 63% of your revenue goes to salaries. 63% is extremely high. Maybe just comment on those two issues then before we close this session.
Mr. Chairman, let me first begin by thanking members of this committee for the recommendations they have made out of this statement. Sorry, I have a flu. I think we'll pick them up, definitely. It has been a good discussion. It is good to get people to review what you are doing and see where things go wrong so that you go back and do things right. I think that's very important. Now, 63% of revenue going to what? Mr. Chairman, can you say again? 63% of wages.
Yeah, it goes to wages. 63%, obviously the PFM, which you wrote, requires 35%. You are at 63%.
Yeah, no, you see, counties which are municipalities have a problem. We do have a problem because these people were given terms permanent and pensionable. You can't dismiss them. And quite often they're not good performers. So if you want something performed properly by qualified people, you hire. In the end, you find that you have more people in the payroll than you need. And yet you cannot fire those people that you found there because they are permanent and pensionable, and you can't deny them of their terms of self-service. So I think we go through a period where definitely in counties like ours, Mombasa, Nairobi, and so on, where definitely there will be a higher percentage of revenue going to employees than is necessary. Over time, you can weed out employees as they retire or they transfer themselves to other jobs, but you can't fire them because firing them can take you tremendous court cases that you will pay very highly, as the lawyers here know. So you retain them until they retire. While you retain them, you must bear the burden of a high percentage wages of money going to revenues. That is just a reality.
Mr. Chairman, can
I thought I would hear something about how to fix the problem. So that, CC?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think His Excellency the Governor has explained part of the sources of the problem, but in fixing the problem in Kisumu, one action that has already been undertaken by the national government is the takeover of Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital to become a national government parastatal. That is going to be a relief because a huge chunk of the wage bill in Kisumu is actually in the health sector, and a huge chunk of it was actually at JOTRH. So the numbers are going to shift for that reason. But Mr. Chairman, there's also something we need to raise here for the attention of this committee in how those figures are computed, 35, 60, and so on. Because if you talk about 63% in the findings of the Auditor General, that is 63% of actual spending in the year, and then the question is whether the fiscal threshold is on the allocation, which is a budget figure. And we have had this discussion with the Auditor General because they make their finding on the actual spending. The Controller Budget interprets the allocation on the proposed budget. So I think the calculation needs to be clarified. And finally, Mr.
CC, revenue is defined in the PFM Act.
Yes.
So it's a percentage of revenue, not percentage of budget. So that should not be contentious.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your guidance. Finally, on the question of potential, that's another thing that we really need to point out, because the Honorable Senator said correctly that the Commission for Revenue Allocation places our potential at more than 20 billion. Mr. Chairman, and we need help from this committee because we have contested this figure with the Commission for Revenue Allocation to show us, because if you look at that number, it is an outlier in the entire 47 counties. And we have gone with the CRA even into the workings of those figures, and it relates to certain calculations that were made by the CRA in terms of the registration of businesses in Kisumu, which numbers we are questioning, because how is it possible that the CRA number is so different from the National Treasury number, which is 7 billion. So we have gone into a lot of discussions with CRA, because they say, by the way, that out of the 20-something billion they expect Kisumu to collect, about 20 billion should come from SBPs and outdoor advertising. And it is based on a database that they used for business registration in 2013. So this is a problem that I think needs to be corrected.
But Waziri, what is the integrated revenue management system? Because that then, the auditor says that invoices from your integrated revenue management system shows variances between unpaid and paid invoices, and that your system generated invoices of 15 billion. Is that a national government system or that's your county system? The integrated revenue management system, IRMIS.
Mr. Chairman, those have been explained, and we have an entire report where there was multiple generation.
But it's your system.
It's our system. But it's
so then it needs to be cleaned up.
Yes,
because
and we have cleaned it up.
If the auditor finds you have invoiced 15 billion, then he has no reason to doubt your potential to collect the 20 billion. So you also have some cleaning up to do internally, especially if it is your system. And I think, Auditor General, you must continue probing this matter, because what is invoiced should correlate with what is paid. And with accrual, if it was invoiced and not paid, doesn't it sit there as a receivable? So now you have receivables of 15 billion coming from your system. And Prof will be handing this over to another governor, and they'll think that he was joking.
I think you're right. We have had a problem. We introduced a system, these technologies that are now used for collecting revenue. And the sellers spoke very high of the system. And these were what I call a reputable company. So we started using this system, and after about 2 months or so, more than that, 6 months, we realized that really this system was not solving our problems. I can't go into the details. One of the reasons why we fired the Revenue Board was this, because the Revenue Board was supposed to make sure that this system works. But unfortunately, it wasn't working to our interest. So our experiment failed.
Well, it's humbling to agree that something failed. Politicians don't like accepting that. We shall communicate the specific issues that you still need to address for this committee, and advise the Auditor General on matters that they will deal with as substantive issues in 2025-2026. But Prof, please make sure that never again are you questioned about the professional competence of the signatories to your financial statements. That sounds inversely proportional to your reputation.
Chairman, I promise that we shall scrutinize these people that goes into those positions. The problem is that we relied so heavily on the Public Service Board that we didn't want to question their choices. But I don't think they too were wrong. I think people who pretend to be something else cover their route very carefully. But in the end, you find that you are dealing with the wrong person. So we have to be very careful and do checks on people before we hire them.
So to my colleagues who wish to move from the Senate to become governors, you can now see the landmines that you are going to encounter. Any closing remarks?
I was once a senator and a chairman of this committee, so I can please join us in the county government to implement what you've been saying here.
I think that's why you're getting a bit of grace from us. Otherwise, the temperatures would have been slightly higher than they were today. Any matter in closing? I don't know, Prof, whether you had made your closing remarks?
The minister wanted to make some closing remarks on my behalf.
Clarification, just one.
What is it? Clarification?
Yeah, because there was an issue and we just needed to correct the records. David Nandi, who signed the receiver of revenue financial statement, the receiver of revenue report, is actually a member of ISPAC number 31821 and is here. So we just have one staff to deal with. It's not both of them. David?
No. If it's a receiver of revenue, there has to be somebody else. It is a report of the receiver of revenue. So there has to be somebody else with the professional responsibility co-signing the financial statement. So his membership cannot validate that financial statement. And please, I meet so many unemployed CPAs in Nairobi, in Isiolo. It does not mean that you must only employ people from Kisumu. There are enough CPAs in this country to do a proper job. So please, the County Public Service Board, I think someone introduced themselves as the chair of that. It is a bad reflection on the city of Kisumu to have associate members of ISPAC signing off a financial statement of 2 billion Kenya shillings. And since CEC, you talked of Jaramogi Oginga Teaching Referral Hospital moving to national government, how does it affect your 1.9 billion of hospital fees? Because fine, the staff will move, but the revenue will also move. How much of it was coming from
Chair,
Jaramogi?
because this is a house of record, you also need to remind them that last week we dealt with that matter, and the staff have not been migrated to national government payroll.
So we are still paying them.
You're still paying them?
They have migrated. In fact, there was a whole ceremony about that.
But there was a delay.
Yes.
Okay.
They have migrated, and when they were migrated, they were very happy. They celebrated. They were led by the CEO. So they migrated, and you're right, Mr. Chairman, that it will have an effect on our revenue, but only on the reported figures. But in the actual operations, that effect is almost zero, because in any case, that money was under FIF, ring-fenced for Jaramogi. So it was not flowing to any other areas of spending.
No, of the 1.9 billion, how much was coming from Jaramogi?
About 1 billion shillings.
About 1 billion
Yeah, was coming from Jaramogi. So nominally, the revenue will fall, but actually in terms of money available for spending in other units of government, there will be no effect, because that money was not available to other units in the first instance.
That's a technical explanation. Politically, it looks very bad. Politically, it looks very bad because you will then be generating revenue equivalent to Homa Bay County. Yeah. So you guys must figure out a way of managing that communication. We could go on and on, but time will not allow us to go further than this, because we still have 3 other meetings, and we shall adjourn the meeting, but the clerk of the Senate will communicate on the information that is required for us to be able to generate a report to the House. County Assembly, we congratulate you for the work you have done. I think you have observed that we are not restricted to the report of the Auditor General. Please also be guided by the financial statements. Ask this kind of questions. Do not allow quacks to prepare financial statements in Kisumu. That's something that you guys can fix at the primary oversight level. Prof, the meeting is adjourned. We wish you safe journey back to Kisumu.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Members, I request that since it's already 2 o'clock, we just allow the delegation to exit, and then we